Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of the Disney Plus Project. We actually did have a chance today to sit down and watch Hamilton. And the circumstances in which we were able to do that were kind of extenuating, but it happened. We were able to watch it. So,
Yay!
Before we get into our thoughts on Hamilton, make sure if you are not subscribed to the channel, you hit that subscribe button down below. And make sure to leave us a like and a comment down below. Let us know what you think. And let us know if you have any suggestions for shows we should watch or movies we should watch on Disney+. So, like I said, we got to watch Hamilton. It was like 2.5 hours long, which I mean, we expected because we have experience with Broadway. We've seen Broadway shows before, so we've seen a few of them live. Like we've watched Chicago and Aladdin. Wasn't there a third one? Sweeney Todd.
And Sweeney Todd.
I think that was the three. So we've seen all those live. I've seen a couple more live, but we've also seen like recordings. We've both seen Shrek the Musical and Newsies when they recorded that. And so like we expected it to be 2.5 hours long, you know. And as soon as it started, like it got a few minutes or a little ways in, probably about 15 minutes in. And I actually told Anna, I was like, this feels more like an operetta than a musical because it is mostly singing. There's not a whole lot of like regular dialogue.
I think
all the dialogue is communicated through song.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think there's like only a few words, honestly.
Yeah, so it had the feel of an operetta, kind of like Les Miserables, where there's just not a whole lot of talking. It's mostly singing. Now it didn't, wasn't detrimental to the story or like how good good or bad the show was or anything. It's just kind of something that I noticed because I've had experience with Broadway and musicals and stuff long enough that like I just get a feel for them, and so it was just kind of different. Just like when I watched Les Miserables for the first time, I was like, "Well, that's different. There's no dialogue because that one has like 2 words, something like that." But no, my first thoughts on it was really good. It was really well done. I really liked it.
Did you?
Did you like it?
Even though I started dozing a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's just because it was so long and I wasn't moving.
Yeah, you generally have problems with longer movies. You can't generally sit through like The Hobbit and stuff like that where there's like 3 hours long.
I'm gonna need like a 40-minute intermission.
Where you get up and like go do something.
Yeah, I can't.
It does give you an intermission.
But 1 minute isn't long enough to even get a drink.
It is a 60-second intermission.
So
I had time to run and get you a popsicle.
Yeah. So, no, it's not long enough of an intermission. I need a good break between chunks to like get up and move and walk and wake my brain back up.
Yeah, I mean, like when we went and watched Avengers Endgame in the theater, you were having issues.
Yep.
Like you liked the movie well enough, but you were just having issues staying awake because you were sitting there that long.
Yeah, I always have trouble with long movies and short movies sometimes too.
Yeah, the short movies just if you're not interested in it mostly.
Yeah.
So, but no, I thought it was really well done, and I'm really glad that they brought in the original cast. Like, I'm really happy about that. I was listening to a couple of Disney podcasts, and at least one of them was talking about how the one guy was like, "Oh, they were like supposed to bring in the original cast, and then they didn't bring in the whole original cast." But I went and looked through the original cast list versus this one, and it is the original cast.
Yeah.
All of the main actors. They might have changed some of the chorus, the people in the chorus, but because they aren't generally given as much credit in like this type of thing. But as far as I could tell, all of the main parts were still played by the same people. Aaron Burr was still what's his name, Leslie Odom Jr. I think was his name. Alexander Hamilton was still Lin-Manuel Miranda. And so they were all the same. And I really enjoyed Jonathan Groff as King George III. For those who don't know, Jonathan Groff is the voice of Kristoff in Frozen, and he did such a fabulous job as King George. He has he's on stage like 3 times, and it's just him singing a song about. It's essentially like a love song, and if you just listen to the soundtrack. It was weird because like when I first listened to it, it sounded like just a guy singing to another, or to a female, about how he like you'll be back is what the song's called, and essentially how you'll come back, and like this and that, and he's like I've done all this for you or something like that. But then at the very end of the song, it threw me off when I was always listening to it because it was like one of the lines is "I will kill your friends and family to remind you of my love," and I was like. what exactly kind of relationship is this? But it's King George III talking about the colonies.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that makes more sense now that I know who that character is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he was only on stage 3 times, but he was so funny. Like the first time, he just kind of was standing there the whole time singing this song that's kind of like, it's kind of one of those like bopping songs where the whole time you feel like you're supposed to be doing this. But he totally just stands there and is just la da 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 da, and he's just like staring dead at the audience, and it was just like, okay. But he just makes goofy faces in some of his other ones, and it was just pretty entertaining. So, I also liked the guy that played George Washington. I thought he did a pretty good job.
I agree.
So,
I think what I really enjoy is that it wasn't a sugar-coated history lesson.
no.
And I feel like if more history was taught like that,
Yeah.
not necessarily like
in-
sugar-coated, but like in like a musical form or something that would bring in the
Or
kids'
just
attention.
something that just is more attention grabbing. Yeah, doesn't even have to be a musical, because there's some kids that avoid musicals like the plague. There's some adults that avoid musicals like the plague.
But
You can do it in a form similar to that, and have it, have it be educational still and still be entertaining.
I feel like Lin-Manuel Miranda's musical style drew in a lot of people who do not like musicals. I know of several people who are like, I don't like musicals, but then they started hearing some of the music from Hamilton and they were like,
Yeah.
I like this. This
Yeah.
isn't like your traditional like la-di-da-di-da.
It isn't traditional show tunes. There's a lot of rap in it. There's like a little bit of hip hop thrown in, as well as there's a couple of them that are more similar to show tunes. Like that's how it's done, and that's Lin-Manuel Miranda's style.
Right.
He also did the musical Into the Heights, which they're also making into a movie, and I'm pretty excited to see that. I haven't listened to I think I've heard one of the songs from Into the Heights. I need to listen to the rest of it, but it's from that one song until it's a similar style. The only time I've seen him do a different style was when he did the music for Moana. But even then, he threw in like the rap portion of You're Welcome.
And even Shiny, that song is not like, it's not your typical show tune.
Yeah, in that case, it's not typical Disney.
Yeah.
It has a different feel to it, a different sound. Usually when Disney finds, okay, here's how we're going to kind of have the music go for this movie, all the music kind of follows that similar vein. But then you watch Moana and all of it's kind of a similar vein, and then you hit You're Welcome and it changes just a little bit, and then you hit Shiny and all of a sudden it's a completely different style, and then goes back. And so I think that's one of the reasons that you like it even.
I'm sure it is. Because like I like traditional like poppy Disney tunes, but it's different and I like that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I like about Lin-Manuel Miranda is he does things different. He's not afraid to do things different.
Yeah.
And he's also like, for those of you who don't know, he's actually also a really good actor. He was in Mary Poppins Returns.
Which he did. I think didn't he write some of the music for that?
I think he helped with some of it. It was mainly written by other people, because I looked into that before, because I thought the same thing. But I think he had some input on some of it.
Yeah, because I feel like especially like his portions in A Cover Is Not the Book. And
the rap portion that he did.
Yeah, and then also the Lamplighter song.
Trip a Little Light Fantastic.
Those are definitely his style.
Yes.
That is 100% in his style, and so he had to have had some.
Yeah, he would have had some input, but no, he does a really good job with both his acting and his writing and his composition, like just everything. He does a fantastic job, and it's also very rare to find someone who does both the music and the lyrics for their own songs. But as near as I could tell from what I looked at, he did both the music and the lyrics. Like Alan Menken, who's like Disney Gold. He's the gold mine they've been using for years, a couple of decades. And about 3 decades now. And he only writes the music. He generally doesn't write the lyrics. He always has a lyricist with him. But Lin-Manuel Miranda does both. And so like it's just a testament to how talented he actually is and how good he is.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's one of the reasons that Hamilton is as good as it is because of him.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Like even the Broadway shows that are the Broadway showings of Hamilton that are going, even though he's not in it anymore,
they
are still just as good, and they still sell out because of how well he did the writing and the music and just everything about that show.
Yes.
And so I was very impressed with it. Like, it's still not fully my type of music. Like, I have a new appreciation for it now that I've actually watched the show.
And you can see the relation
and I can
between...
see, how things are going, and like,
And it makes sense, honestly, for, like, Hamilton would not have made a good poppy show tune musical.
No, especially because they did it more truthfully and showed, like, the kind of darker stuff that was going on, some of the not so great stuff.
Which I appreciate.
Yes. Not sugarcoating the affair that Alexander Hamilton had for like a couple of months or something like that, and not sugarcoating.
It was probably longer than that, because he said that he made payments to him like every quarter for
a little while, because that's how long he was blackmailing him. But the affair itself was only a little while. But the guy kept blackmailing him and was like, I'll tell your wife. I mean, I'd have to do my research again to be sure, but I think the actual affair was only a little while. But, and then they didn't sugarcoat the duels or anything. There was 3 duels in there, and they didn't sugarcoat any of that. I really liked that they did the and I heard one of the podcasts that I listened to. I heard one of them mention how they use they use a person carrying the bullet from one gun to the other, at least in the last one.
In the first one too, I think.
Was it the first one too? So you can see it like makes the bullet a character on the stage essentially, and it like made it really cool, because then the turntable they were all standing on was spinning. It would spin a little bit as it was going, and it'd give you a different angle. But just having that as like an individual character on the stage was just a really cool idea.
Yeah.
And so
it kind of brings the situation to life.
I kind of had to laugh when they kept doing who was it? Neil Patrick Harris. There he is. Yeah. It kind of, Neil Patrick Harris had said this in one of the like kind of Tony Award shows that he did, where he looks out at the cameras and he's like, "Can I get my Tom Hooper? I think it's Tom Hooper. Les Miserables close up, please." And it like just zooms in on his face, and he like then goes off on like some rant about how you don't have to we don't have to have these close-ups in order for you to tell that we're actually singing, because that's why they did that in Les Miserables. But they did that a couple of times in this show, where they did like a super close-up of their face, and I was like, why are we doing that?
It's I feel like for them it was more of a like showing the emotion on the actor's face.
I think that was the intention, but I think it could have been conveyed just as well without zooming in that far, because like if you're sitting in the audience watching it, you're still going to get that emotion. And
you're not getting those close-up zooms. Yeah. I think that's just whoever was filming the camera people, and whoever was putting it together. That was their choices. So
yeah, because like with us watching Sweeney Todd and Chicago, especially because we were a little closer to the stage, like you could see the emotions and stuff.
But to be fair, the guy who played Sweeney Todd got like right up in our face. So
yes, I could have touched him. Yes.
So like he kind of was doing a close up for us.
Yes, he was I could have reached out like this and touched him. That was really crazy. But like Chicago, we were still closer to the stage, but we were a little ways back.
Yeah, we were on the first level, but we were towards the back of the first level.
We were about halfway down. I tried to get his seats as close as I could because it was your birthday present.
Gotcha.
But you could still see the emotion on their faces. The only one
say Aladdin.
Aladdin was the only one that we couldn't really see because we were up in the nosebleeds.
Yeah.
It was still a lot of fun.
It was because I got tickets very last moment.
It's true. That and you wanted the cheaper ones.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was literally that.
Yeah, that's true.
It was at the very end.
Yeah,
I couldn't get any closer. That was as far as I could get.
Yeah.
Without spending like $300 to be up in the very front. So.
But having been on stage myself, I know how hard the people that are on stage, the actors that are on stage, are trying to convey those emotions, because you can't get that close to them. Like in the movies, they don't have to try as hard to convey those emotions because they can do those close-ups.
Right.
But on stage, it's harder to do. You have to exaggerate it more than you do on screen.
Yeah, which is true.
And so.
Which is why, like when they do the recordings and film of musicals, they do those weird close-ups, because that's how you would do it in movies.
Yeah.
Even though you don't necessarily need it. Because now that I'm thinking about it, they did it in Newsies too.
couple of times. In Shrek the Musical, they didn't do it quite as often, but they still did it a couple of times. But yeah, it's just...
And it's because that's how you portray in film, is you get up close in their face, and you don't necessarily need to.
Yeah.
So.
But no, so yeah, Hamilton was actually really, really good. I would definitely watch that one again.
I would watch it again.
Like, not right now, because that is a little bit of a beating. It takes a while.
I would take a break halfway through. When it hits intermission, I'm going to pause that sucker.
Yes.
Go do something and come back.
I do think we should do that next time, because even for me, that was a little much.
It was a stretch.
I think because of the chair I was sitting in too, it was just a little uncomfortable. But
I was like lounged out on the couch. And,
that's why
dozing.
I was sitting on the chair. But yeah, so next week we will figure out something else to do. I don't know what we're gonna do next week.
The same thing we do every week, Pinky.
Try to take over the world. Should we take a look at something?
Sound good?
Yep.
Gouda?
Alright, so next week we will watch Teen Beach Movie, because I have only ever seen 5 Disney Channel original movies. I've seen the first Descendants movie, and I've seen Lemonade Mouth, which I actually really, really liked, and then I've seen all 3 High School Musicals, because my sister had those a long time ago, and I watched them and I loved them.
You also need to watch Xenon.
And I need to see like all of them. Those are the only ones that I've seen. 5 right there on one hand. 5 of them.
All the movies I have ever seen from Disney Channel on one hand.
Yep. So next week we'll do Teen Beach Movie, because I have not seen that one, and then the week after that we will do Camp Rock, because I also have not seen that. I have seen a stage production of Camp Rock because they did that back home.
But Jonas Brothers.
Yep. So that'll do it for us for this week. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we hope to see you all again next week. But until then, don't forget to thank the Phoenicians.